I still remember the exact second the room decided who I was, not because anyone announced it out loud. No, it was quieter than that, a look, a pause, the way a man in a pressed polo shirt glanced at me and then looked away like his eyes had already finished the calculation and found me unworthy of another second. "Let me know if you need anything," he said, already turning his back. I was standing in a luxury car showroom on a bright Saturday afternoon. Glass walls, polished floors, engines that cost more than most houses. I wasn't rushed. I wasn't loud. I wasn't trying to impress anyone. I was just there, reading the placard next to a matte black coupe, taking in the details, torque, drivetrain, engineering choices. And apparently that was the problem, because a few minutes later I heard him again. Not to me, about me. "She's probably just browsing," he said to another salesperson loud enough that I didn't have to strain to hear it. "Happens all the time." There it was, the sentence that told me everything. I smiled to myself, not because it was funny, because it was familiar. I've been underestimated my whole life. Not aggressively, not always cruelly, just efficiently. People glance, assume, sort you into a box and move on, and you can almost hear the click when they close the file on you in their head. I didn't interrupt him. I didn't correct him. I kept reading. A few moments later, I asked a question, a real one. Something about the transmission design, how it handled low-speed torque without sacrificing responsiveness. The kind of question you ask when you actually know what you're looking at. He blinked like I'd spoken another language. "Well," he said slowly, the way people do when they think they're explaining something to a child, "these models are premium. Most people focus on comfort features first." Most people, not me apparently. I felt the shift then, that subtle downgrade in how he spoke to me, how he stood a little farther away, how his attention kept drifting back to a man in a blazer across the room who hadn't asked a single question, but looked in their eyes more appropriate. I'd be lying if I said it didn't sting. It did. Not sharply, more like a dull ache, the kind that presses on old bruises you forgot you had. For a second I considered ending it right there, walking out, letting them keep their assumptions and their polished floors. But something in me stayed. Not stubbornness, clarity. Because moments like this aren't just about disrespect. They're about choice. About how you respond when someone treats you like you don't belong. So I stayed quiet. I watched. I noticed how another employee avoided eye contact with me entirely. How a manager glanced over once, clocked the situation, and chose not to intervene. How politeness never arrived until there was something to gain. That's when I realized they weren't confused. They were committed. Committed to the story they'd already written about me. And I wasn't going to rewrite it by begging. I pulled out my phone and sent a short message. No drama, no explanation, just a few words to someone who knew exactly who I was and didn't need convincing. While I waited, the salesman returned, arms crossed, now confidence growing. "Just so you know," he said, voice smooth but firm, "these vehicles start well into 6 figures. We usually verify interest before going into technical details." Verify interest? I looked at him. Really looked at him, not with anger, not with superiority, just curiosity. "Interesting," I said. "And how do you usually do that?" He shrugged. "Experience. You get a feel." "A feel?" I nodded slowly. "That feel ever get it wrong?" He laughed. Actually laughed. That laugh told me more than his words ever could. My phone buzzed in my hand. I glanced down, then back up. "Could you bring me the keys?" I asked casually. "I'd like to hear the engine." He hesitated. Just a fraction of a second too long. "I'll need approval for that," he said. "No problem," I replied. "Take your time." When he walked away, the air shifted. Subtly. A different kind of attention crept into the room, curiosity replacing dismissal. The manager approached now, smile practiced, eyes sharp. "Is everything all right?" she asked. "Perfectly," I said. "I'm just deciding." She nodded, then glanced at my phone as it lit up again. I didn't answer it, just let it ring once before silencing it. That's when it happened. The salesman returned, keys in hand, posture completely changed. Straighter, politer, careful. "Ma'am," he said. "Of course." I didn't take the keys immediately. I looked at him and said, "Before we do that, I have a question." "Yes." "Why now?" His smile faltered. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't list my credentials. I didn't say my title. I just let the silence stretch long enough to be uncomfortable. The manager shifted beside him. "I've been standing here for almost half an hour," I continued, asking clear questions, being respectful. Nothing changed about me in the last 60 seconds except what you think you know. That landed. I finally took the keys, but I didn't start the car. I won't be buying today, I said calmly. Both of them froze. But the salesman started. I came in curious, I said. I'm leaving certain. I handed the keys back. I spend my money where I don't have to prove I deserve respect. The room was silent. No applause, no gasps, just the quiet kind of realization that sinks in too late. I walked toward the exit, sunlight spilling through the glass doors, my reflection stretching across the floor. As I stepped outside, the noise of traffic filled my ears real messy alive. I took a deep breath and felt something loosen in my chest. Not victory, not revenge. Relief. Because the truth is, the comeback isn't always about showing people who you are. Sometimes it's about showing yourself that you don't need to stay where you're unseen. So let me ask you this. Do you think people change the moment they realize your worth, or do they just reveal who they were when they thought it didn't matter? Tell me what you think in the comments.